Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really getting into this whole myth around work-life balance.
Right.
It's become this huge point of tension, hasn't it? Especially for ambitious leaders. You feel like you've got this impossible choice.
Yeah.
Massive success or, well, keeping your sanity.
Exactly. Sacrifice one for the other.
Yeah. And we're basically tearing apart a whole stack of leadership performance analysis today that suggests, the entire way we even debate this, it's just flawed from the start.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the conversation really blew up recently, didn't it? That 22-year-old entrepreneur, Emil Barr.
Oh, yeah, the essay.
Right, that polarizing piece arguing work-life balance will keep you mediocre. I mean, it's designed to poke you, right? Make you feel guilty if you want a weekend.
Definitely provocative.
But what if the actual problem isn't the ambition? And maybe it's not even the balance.
Well, that's precisely where this deep dive is heading. What Barr is tapping into, maybe unintentionally, is that human tendency towards, well, comfort. But he kind of misidentifies the real danger. If you connect his point to the bigger picture, you end up sort of echoing Henry David Thoreau's classic line, the mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation.
Quiet desperation. That sounds heavy. But how does that apply here to high achievers?
Well, it's fascinating how it shows up today, especially in the C-suite or, among people who seem to have it all figured out. It's not poverty, obviously.
Right.
It's more like maintaining this incredibly successful front while internally you're just dreading the next meeting, feeling trapped by the very success you worked so hard to build.
That sounds exhausting.
It is. And so our
Yep.
core finding really is that balance isn't the actual enemy of ambition, the real enemy. It's resignation.
Resignation, okay.
Yeah, the real threat to sustained, truly extraordinary performance is this unconscious drift towards, well, what we're calling comfortable desperation.
Comfortable desperation. Wow, that really reframes it, doesn't it? Okay, so our mission then, for you listening,
Yeah.
is to get past that damaging false choice. The idea that top-tier performance means your personal life has to be basically crippled.
Right, that zero-sum game.
Exactly. And instead, we want to help you adopt a framework that actually allows for both huge ambition and sustainable impact. Sounds good.
Sounds essential.
Okay, so let's drill down into this main enemy first. Comfortable desperation. What does that actually look like day to day?
Well, it's often subtle. It's when a leader starts mistaking sheer busyness, the volume of emails, the back-to-back meetings, for actual effectiveness.
Then,
We all have. It's also about allowing your default success strategies, the stuff that maybe worked 5 years ago, to just run on autopilot.
why? Because it's easier.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It requires less conscious energy than building new systems or approaches. It feels safe. It's that subtle, maybe daily choice of just going through the familiar motions instead of chasing a higher, sometimes more demanding purpose.
But safety over purpose.
In a nutshell. And that resignation, that sort of quiet disengagement, it has truly catastrophic costs, which is why this isn't just a personal well-being issue. It's fundamentally strategic.
Okay, back that up. Catastrophic how?
Look at the data. Gallup research shows that right now, fully two-thirds of U.S. workers feel actively disengaged from their jobs.
2/3. That's staggering.
It should set off alarm bells everywhere. And it gets worse. Of those people who are already disengaged, a massive 74% are actively looking for new jobs or are at least open to offers.
Wow, so the turnover.
Exactly. That churn, that lack of real commitment, it leads to incredible inefficiency. And the American Psychological Association put a number on it. They estimate the stress tied to all this disengagement costs the U.S. economy. Wait for it, $500 billion a year.
Hold on, $500 billion.
Annually.
Okay, that number just completely shifts the perspective. This isn't some fluffy, nice-to-have personal problem. It's a massive strategic risk. So, if resignation is costing $500 billion, then clearly the way we've been thinking about this, that old work-life trade-off, it has to be fundamentally wrong.
It is.
But hang on, if 2/3 of workers are disengaged, isn't it possible that the system is broken, not just the individual leader's willpower? How does this framework account for that external pressure?
That's a really critical point. And the framework tackles it by actually redefining what we mean by engagement.
Okay.
Real engagement, sustainable engagement, isn't just about, liking your manager or having a few friends at work. That's nice, but superficial.
Right.
True engagement comes from being connected to a purpose, something bigger than the daily grind, that actually compels you to grow beyond your current comfort zone.
Okay. So that connection makes the pressure bearable.
Tolerable, even meaningful. Because the friction, the hard work, it feels like it's serving something important. It's not just random stress.
Got it. That's the crucial link then. So when leaders say, I just don't have time for balance, what they're often doing, maybe without realizing it, is choosing the stress they know. The familiar, predictable stress of just constant overwork, which, believe it or not, is its own kind of comfort zone for a lot of high achievers, right?
Absolutely. It feels productive, even if it's destructive long term.
And they choose that over the uncertain growth that comes from living more consciously, more intentionally. It's basically resignation dressed up in a power suit, pretending to be dedication.
Perfectly put. Resignation masquerading as dedication. And that failure to grow, that clinging to the familiar stress, brings us right to the core flaw in that old work-life balance idea.
We did.
It's that zero-sum accounting. It assumes life is a scale.
Yeah.
If work goes up, something else, life must automatically go down.
Yeah, that's how it usually feels.
But that perspective completely misunderstands how human energy actually works. So we introduce a counter framework.
The energy ecosystem.
Okay, energy ecosystem, not balance. Tell me more. It's not about balancing two separate opposing forces. It's about managing a dynamic, interconnected system for sustainable energy flow. Think of it like maybe a pyramid structure with 3 levels.
Right.
At the very foundation, the base, we put health. And that's holistic. Physical fitness, mental fitness, even spiritual fitness, that's your bedrock.
Makes sense. What's next?
In the middle, we have relationships. These are all the vital social connections, your partner, family, friends, the people who energize you, support you, give you perspective.
Okay, health, relationships. What's at the top?
At the very top sits purpose. This is your why, your higher calling, the thing that drives you to make a real difference, to transform things.
Health, relationships, purpose. Foundation, middle, top. But you said interconnected.
Yeah.
That's the key insight, isn't it? We're not just stacking blocks here.
Exactly. That's the crucial part. They feed each other.
How so? Give me an example.
Okay, think of it like this. If I make a conscious effort to invest in my physical fitness, the foundation, maybe just by getting decent sleep consistently.
Something many leaders neglect.
Right. But if I do that, I automatically generate more physical stamina, sure, but also more emotional resilience. That resilience then helps me handle, say, difficult conversations or friction within my relationships, the middle layer, much more effectively.
Okay, I see that connection.
And then, having those strong, supportive relationships, that in turn fuels the emotional and mental energy I need to really pursue my long-term purpose at the top, especially when things get tough.
Ah, so neglecting the foundation.
Shakes the entire structure. Doesn't matter how passionate you are about your purpose up top, if your health is crumbling or your relationships are toxic, the whole system becomes unstable. You leak energy.
Okay, that ecosystem model makes intuitive sense. It's holistic. So let's get more granular now. How do we actually, measure and manage this ecosystem day to day?
Great question. To make it really practical, the sources introduce a tool called the Engaged Life Inventory.
Engaged life inventory. Okay.
Yeah, and it breaks that broader ecosystem down into 7 interconnected domains of leadership power.
7 domains. All right.
And the idea is, when these 7 specific areas are aligned and intentionally managed, they don't just create balance, they actually create this compound effect.
Yeah.
They amplify your overall leadership capacity exponentially.
A compound effect, not just equilibrium. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, let's list them out. What are the 7?
So first, foundational is personal purpose. This is that core meaning, the why that guides your big choices.
Purpose first.
Then you have a cluster of relationship domains. There's your relationship with a partner, that key person providing intimate emotional support, stability.
Crucial.
Then relationship with friends. This is vital for perspective, for joy, for getting outside your own bubble.
Often undervalued, I think.
Hugely. And then relationship with family, your roots, your grounding, remembering who you are beyond the job title.
Okay, purpose, partner, friends, family. That's 4. What else?
Next are the 3 fitness pillars. Physical fitness, pretty straightforward. The health of your body, which directly impacts your daily energy, endurance, clarity.
The engine.
Then, mental fitness. This is your cognitive sharpness and your emotional resilience. How well do you manage stress? How quickly do you bounce back from setbacks?
Okay, mental resilience. Super important.
And finally, number 7 is spiritual fitness. Now, this isn't necessarily about religion, though it can be.
Right.
It's more about your connection to ultimate meaning, your answer to the biggest why. It's what allows you to endure difficulty or sacrifice because you feel the path leads somewhere significant.
Purpose, partner, friends, family, Physical, mental, spiritual. Those are the 7.
Those are the 7 domains, and the core idea is, if you neglect any one of them consistently, you're essentially creating a chronic leak in your entire energy system. It drags everything else down over time.
Okay, that framework is powerful. Now let's connect it to the science. You mentioned neuroscience earlier, specifically something called the amygdala hijack. How does that explain why we fall into these resignation traps?
Exactly. It explains why good intentions often fail under pressure. We know the brain is incredibly fast, but different parts operate at different speeds. Your emotional survival brain, the amygdala, deep inside it, reacts in hundredths of a second to perceived threats.
Move fast.
Incredibly fast. But your sophisticated executive brain, the prefrontal cortex, the part that handles rational thought, strategy, long-term planning that takes much longer to fully come online, up to 10 seconds, sometimes more.
10 seconds. That sounds like an eternity in a crisis.
It is an eternity, and that gap, that 10-second lag, that's a danger zone. When a high-pressure situation hits a market crash, a project failure, intense criticism, the amygdala, your fear center, basically floods the system.
Yeah.
It hijacks your executive function. It shuts down rational thought. And that is why, in a moment of panic or stress, even a highly trained leader might suddenly snap back to yelling, or micromanaging details, or retreating to answer unimportant emails.
They revert to comfort zones.
Precisely. They fall back on those default, often destructive strategies because the feel center is driving the bus, not the rational mind, even if they intellectually know better.
So conscious engagement. Is that about managing that 10-second gap?
That's a huge part of it. It's about training yourself through practice and awareness across those 7 domains to pause, breathe, and intentionally choose a response from your executive center, from purpose, rather than reacting automatically from fear, building that resilience.
Okay, so this isn't just philosophical. Training conscious engagement has real, measurable benefits, right? The sources talked about that.
Absolutely. The benefits are concrete, not just feelings. For instance, research shows that even simple daily physical activity provides what they call resource caravans the next day.
Resort caravans, what does that mean?
It means, and it hits the bottom line. Organizations with highly engaged teams see 21% higher profitability. Plus, companies that actually invest in wellness programs supporting these life domains, they see about a 25% reduction in absenteeism.
So better productivity, higher profits, fewer sick days. This isn't soft leadership at all.
Not even close. It's hard, smart business strategy rooted in understanding and managing human energy effectively.
Okay, so how does that engaged life inventory tool work in practice? You mentioned it helps identify the weak spots.
Right. So leaders rate themselves, usually on a scale, across each of those 7 domains we listed. How am I really doing with my physical fitness, my relationship with friends, my sense of purpose?
Honest self-assessment.
Has to be. And then those scores are often plotted onto a visual tool, like a radar chart, sometimes called the Engaged Life Wheel.
Ah, so you can see the shape of your life energy.
Exactly. And it's incredibly valuable because it instantly shows you which domain, or maybe 2, is lagging behind the others. It pinpoints the area that's likely acting as the biggest drain on your whole system. It tells you exactly where your highest leverage growth opportunity is right now.
That sounds incredibly useful. Do you have an example of how this worked for someone?
Yes, the sources had a great one. A CEO, they profiled classic high achiever type, very successful, but scoring critically low, specifically in physical fitness, and consequently mental fitness on his inventory. He was running on fumes, chronically tired, impatient with his team, very reactive.
Sounds like that comfortable desperation you mentioned. High performance, but miserable.
Textbook case, high performance resignation. So based on that inventory, his intervention wasn't some massive overhaul. It was actually quite simple, but very specific.
Okay, what was it?
He committed to one non-negotiable thing, a 20-minute walk every morning, crucially without his phone.
20 minutes. That doesn't sound like much compared to, say, hitting the gym for an hour.
It doesn't, but it directly addressed his lowest scoring domain, physical fitness. And it was achievable, sustainable.
And what happened? Did it work?
The ripple effect was apparently extraordinary. Yes, the walk improved his physical health markers over time, but the key thing was that quiet, phone-free walk became his dedicated time for mental processing, for thinking clearly.
Ah, so it boosted his mental fitness too.
Significantly. It reduced the frequency of those amygdala hijacks we talked about. His team noticed a huge shift. He became way more patient in stressful meetings. His creative thinking improved because he wasn't just reacting all the time. He was just more present.
Wow. So he didn't just get fitter physically.
He strengthened his entire capacity to lead effectively, all from that one small, consistent, conscious choice targeting his weakest domain.
That's transformation. And it didn't mean sacrificing the company or finding 10 extra hours.
Not at all. It meant making a specific, intentional choice in a neglected area. And that's always the path forward. Use the inventory to identify the lowest score, then pinpoint one or two small, concrete habits you can build in that specific domain. Repetition builds the habit, and eventually, that positive habit becomes an automatic, high-performance reflex.
Okay, so this really brings us back and resolves that whole paradox, the one Emil Barr stirred up. Sustainable, truly transformational leaders. They are absolutely not choosing between balance and ambition. That's the wrong frame entirely.
Completely wrong frame.
What they are choosing is between conscious engagement across their whole life and unconscious resignation. That's the real fork in the road.
That is the fundamental difference. It separates the leaders who burn bright and burn out fast from those who build extraordinary, sustainable impact over an entire career.
And you can see it in the kinds of questions they ask themselves, right?
Absolutely. The shift is profound. Instead of constantly asking, how can I possibly squeeze in more work hours? They start asking, how can I work with more purpose, more energy, more focus in the hours I do have?
Yeah, different question entirely.
And instead of, what else do I have to sacrifice to get ahead? They ask, how can I choose more consciously today to strengthen my full capacity across all 7 domains?
It's about integration, not sacrifice.
Exactly.
So transformational leadership, when you define it this way,
Yeah.
it's not about being the suffering hero who gives up everything for the mission and becomes this kind of cautionary tale for their team.
No, that model is broken.
It's actually the conscious leader who models integration, wholeness, the one who demonstrates what's truly possible when someone aligns their entire life, work, health, relationships, everything around a compelling purpose.
And achieving that alignment, it takes real commitment, real courage, because you genuinely have to let go of some deep-seated fears.
Like what fears?
Well, the fear of not looking busy enough, the fear that success is fragile and will vanish if you take that 20-minute walk, the fear of vulnerability.
Yeah, those are real.
They are. But as Aristotle observed way back, he who has overcome his fears will truly be free. And there's something almost, magical that happens at the moment of real commitment. Until you're truly committed to this integrated path, there's always hesitation, right? Pulling back.
Sure.
But the sources emphasize that the moment one definitely commits oneself, decides, this is how I will live and lead, it feels like Providence or the universe or whatever you want to call it starts moving too. Things align. Resources appear.
That's a powerful thought. Commitment unlocks potential.
It really does seem to.
Okay, so that feels like the ultimate takeaway here. The world doesn't need more burnt-out martyrs to ambition. It needs leaders who flat out refuse that false choice between balance and success.
Exactly.
It needs leaders committed to living and leading with conscious engagement, intentionally managing their energy across all 7 of those life domains.
Yeah. That's the path to sustainable impact.
So maybe the final thought, the challenge for everyone listening today is this. Take a really honest look at those 7 domains we outlined.
Personal purpose, partner, friends, family, physical fitness, mental fitness, and spiritual fitness.
Right. And ask yourself, in which of these areas am I currently managing my energy reactively? Running on old habits, maybe even drifting towards that comfortable desperation. Versus where am I leading consciously? Where am I making intentional choices, investing energy with purpose? Maybe even look at your calendar for this week right now.
Good practical step.
If your calendar only shows blocks for work tasks and maybe a gym session, where is the blocked, non-negotiable time this week for, say, connecting deeply with your friends or for quiet reflection on your purpose?
That intentional scheduling, that conscious choice.
That's where your freedom and ultimately your sustained power as a leader really begins.